What if the end times aren't coming because they've already started? What if Revelation isn't just a book about the future, but a mirror of what's happening right now inside churches, families, and hearts? Everyone's waiting for chaos, for beasts, for thunder in the sky. But what if the real sign, the one we've all missed, is a hidden separation already unfolding in silence? Revelation shows us a chilling reality. Before any trumpet sounds, heaven begins to divide, not with violence, not with drama, but with decisions made in the quiet. Who loves truth? Who follows comfort? Who obeys when no one's looking? It's already here. And the longer we wait for the obvious signs, the more likely we are to miss the spiritual line being drawn right beneath our feet. This video will break what most people assume about the end times. We're not just watching prophecy unfold, we're living inside it. The separation isn't about denominations or headlines, it's about hearts. And it's happening now. Revelation doesn't only warn, it reveals. It exposes where we really stand and what side we've already chosen, whether we realize it or not. So stay with me to the end, because once you see what Revelation actually reveals, you'll never look at the world or yourself the same way again. And if you're brave enough to ask, which side am I really on? You just might find the answer that could change your eternity. Most people think the seals and marks in Revelation are futuristic symbols, something that will show up in the last days with spectacular events. But there's a detail almost no one sees. These signs are already being placed, invisibly. When Revelation speaks of people sealed on their foreheads or marked by the beast, it's not just talking about microchips or modern technology. It's revealing who has already chosen, deep inside, whose voice they will follow. And this happens long before anything appears in the natural. Heaven is already identifying those who belong to the Lamb, even before the beast begins to act. It's like a silent sorting process, where it's not enough to look Christian. The heart has to be fully surrendered. Revelation 7:3-4 shows that the sealed are protected, but that protection begins with an inner posture. The mark of the Father on the heart is more powerful than any earthly seal, and it's seen in the details, how someone loves, resists sin, and commits to truth. People think the battle will start with a global decree, but it has already started in the quiet decisions of everyday life. A simple no to a dishonest proposal, a yes to prayer when no one's watching. These are signs of a heavenly seal at work. A father praying for his children, even when he sees no results. A woman choosing to forgive instead of retaliate. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. This spiritual mark that divides people is subtle but powerful. The question isn't when it will be placed, it's whether you're already carrying one. Every response we give, in thoughts, words, or actions, reinforces that seal. Heaven is watching long before humans notice anything. And in the end, it's that invisible division that determines everyone's destiny, long before the final judgment arrives. People keep waiting for some grand day of judgment, lightning in the sky, trumpets sounding, angels descending. But Scripture whispers a deeper truth. The real separation doesn't begin with a final verdict. It starts with quiet choices in ordinary days. Revelation 22:11 doesn't say, "One day decide." It says, "Let the unjust remain unjust. Let the holy keep being holy." It's not a warning of coming doom. It's a revelation that the division is already underway. Spiritual separation happens in the unseen, in decisions made in the silence of the soul. When someone chooses to forgive instead of holding a grudge, when they say no to temptation even in private, that's the heart-shifting sides. Like the wise and foolish virgins in Matthew 25, they all look the same, until the moment of truth. It's not about big stages or church attendance. It's about private sacrifices and unseen integrity. You can see it in the little things. A man who turns off a movie that grieves the spirit. A woman who quietly fasts and prays without telling anyone. These aren't religious performances. They're spiritual alignments. And that's where the true divide begins. The Church of Sardis had a reputation for being alive, but heaven saw death behind the curtains. The heart doesn't lie. It just waits to be revealed. So many are waiting to change when things get serious, but the truth is, they already are. The separation is happening right now, not with thunder, but in whispers, not with angels, but with choices. And while most are looking for dramatic signs, heaven is watching the direction of your heart. Because what looks quiet on earth is shaking realms in eternity. Most people imagine the characters of Revelation as figures of the future, wild beasts, fiery prophets, and world rulers. But the truth is far more personal and immediate. They're already among us. Revelation 13:8 talks about those who dwell on the earth, not just geographically, but spiritually. It's those who live for the now, addicted to comfort, applause, and control. The end-time stage is already occupied, just without the spotlight. And then there are those who follow the Lamb wherever he goes, Revelation 14:4. They're the ones quietly obeying, even when it costs them relationships, status, or success. They don't need titles, microphones, or applause. Their faith is built in silence, in long nights of prayer, in resisting compromise, in loving truth more than image. These are the unseen warriors of today, the ones heaven already calls faithful. The characters of Revelation aren't defined by appearance. They're defined by allegiance. You can't spot them by their clothes or church attendance, but you'll know them by their hunger for purity, their intolerance for lukewarmness, and their ability to endure pressure without selling out. They might be your co-worker who quietly refuses shady deals, or the single mother who chooses holiness over escape. They walk among us. They are the prophetic echo of the times. Judgment doesn't start when the skies open. It starts in the church, according to 1 Peter 4:17. That means the drama of Revelation is already unfolding, right under our noses. While the world waits for chaos to confirm prophecy, heaven is watching who's already living the script. And the question that quietly lingers is, which role are you playing in this unfolding divine drama? One of the most urgent questions a believer can ask today is, how do I know if I'm truly on the Lord's side? The world is loud, confusing, and full of spiritual illusions. But Revelation gives us clear criteria, and none of them depend on appearance. Revelation 3:8 talks about those with little strength, who still obey and do not deny his name. That means loyalty without spotlight, obedience when no one is watching. If your faith only shows up when others are looking, you may be performing, not walking. True alignment with the Lamb is proven in costly love for truth. 2 Thessalonians 2:10 says, "Those who perish do so because they did not love the truth." Not because they didn't hear it, but because they refused to embrace it when it demanded something, like breaking off a toxic relationship, quitting a job that requires compromise, or confessing a hidden sin. Loving truth costs, but it also seals. It's not just about believing in Jesus, it's about letting him confront every falsehood inside you. Another marker of those sealed by God is perseverance. Revelation 14:12 describes the saints as those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Not the ones who start strong, but the ones who finish, even when weary. This shows up in people who keep praying even when heaven seems silent, who keep loving even when hurt, who stay pure when temptation screams. It's not about being fearless, it's about being faithful. Endurance is the signature of the sealed. And then there's the invisible hunger, signs that the Spirit is already working within. A restlessness with the world system, a longing for holiness, even when it feels lonely, a deep conviction when you compromise, even just a little. These are not emotional phases, they're spiritual signals. If you're uncomfortable in places you used to enjoy, that might not be guilt. That might be God marking you. And once that seal begins, it never goes unnoticed. Not in heaven, and certainly not in hell. This might shock some, but not everyone with a ministry is on God's side. The separation God is making in this generation isn't about church titles, Bible degrees, or how often someone preaches. It's deeper than that. It's spiritual. Revelation 3:1 reveals a haunting truth. You have a name that you are alive, but you are dead. The reputation says revival, but heaven sees rot. It's possible to be known as godly and still be on the wrong side of eternity. That's why discernment is crucial. Going to church doesn't mean you're walking with God. Plenty of people sit through sermons, but never allow those words to cut, convict, or change them. It's like the parable of the wheat and the tares. Both grow together, look similar, even sway with the same wind. But only one bears fruit, and only one will remain after the fire. That fire is already testing motives, loyalty, and truthfulness. It's subtle now, but soon it'll be unmistakable. The spiritual separation God is making targets the unseen, not behavior modified for appearances, but hearts that burn in secret. He's not moved by how many scriptures someone can quote, but by how deeply they tremble at his voice. A person who prays in secret, who repents in tears, who loves purity more than position. That's who heaven identifies. The division happening now has nothing to do with denomination, and everything to do with devotion. Ask yourself, when no one is watching, what side does your soul lean toward? Are you being drawn to holiness or hiding behind religious activity? The real test isn't how you perform in the crowd, it's what you choose in the silence. That's where the fire starts. And it's in that private fire that God is doing his most precise work of separation. But the real question burning now is, why is this happening now? And what does it mean for what's coming next? Many think the rapture will be a test, like a final exam that determines who's in or out. But biblically, it's not a test. It's a harvest, and harvests don't separate. They reveal what was already separated. What's happening now, quietly, invisibly, is the sorting. Revelation shows us that each church in chapters 2 and 3 was already being diagnosed, not based on their outward activity, but on their spiritual condition. Some were enduring, others were deceived, and still others were lukewarm, clinging to religion, but far from truth. This separation is God's way of cleaning the house before he calls it home. 1 Peter 4:17 says, "Judgment begins with the household of God, not with the world." That means God isn't waiting for sinners to act worse. He's waiting for his people to get real. It's a spiritual wake-up call. The faithful are being refined. The proud are being exposed. And heaven is drawing a line that can't be seen by the eye, but it's being etched deeply into eternity. This is why you're feeling things shift, the restlessness in your spirit, the growing discomfort with compromise, the hunger for something purer. It's not just you changing, it's the Spirit marking those who truly belong. Just like a farmer doesn't harvest until the wheat is mature, God is waiting until the invisible work of separation is complete. That's why time feels short. That's why the urgency is growing. It's not panic, it's preparation. And here's the sobering truth. No one will be raptured by accident. No one will be swept up in glory without first having been set apart in spirit. If you're not willing to separate now, from sin, from mixture, from spiritual laziness, don't expect to be lifted later. The rapture is heaven's response to an already divided people. So what is God looking for in those he plans to call home? So now you know. The real message of Revelation isn't just about beasts, plagues, or global chaos. It's about you. About the hidden separation already taking place within your soul, your choices, your daily walk. The question isn't whether the rapture is near. It's whether your life is already aligned with the one who's coming. Because the separation, it's not future tense. It's now. Have you noticed that the things you once tolerated now make you uneasy? That certain conversations, places, and habits feel heavy on your spirit? That's not just guilt.